Alfred watched through the bus window as the landscape gradually changed, signaling the approach to his hometown. After 5 years away, he was finally returning to the place where he had grown up, carrying with him a suitcase of clothes and another full of dreams and expectations. The 28-year-old, with disheveled hair and pensive eyes, reflected on the journey that had brought him there. His face expressed a mix of anxiety and nostalgia as he recalled the disagreement with his father, who wanted Alfred to take over the family business, a prosperous furniture store in the city centre. But Alfred had always been a free spirit, passionate about drawing since childhood. He dreamed of becoming a famous cartoonist, creating characters that would delight both children and adults. The decision to leave had not been easy. Leaving behind his parents, his older brother James, and all the security of a planned life required courage. In the early years, pride kept him from maintaining frequent contact, but in recent weeks, something had changed. Timid phone calls turned into long conversations, filling the void that the distance had created. December had arrived, bringing with it the Christmas spirit, and Alfred felt it was the perfect moment for a fresh start. He watched the festive lights beginning to dot the streets of the small towns through which the bus passed, imagining what his town would look like and if the big pine tree in the central square would still be decorated as in the old days. The bus continued its journey on the cold night, when suddenly a deafening crash shattered the peace of the trip. Alfred felt his body being thrown forward, the sound of metal twisting and glass shattering filled his ears. In a matter of seconds, what was a quiet journey turned into chaos. Screams and cries echoed around him, but Alfred couldn't move. A sharp pain in his head made him struggle to maintain consciousness. He tried to understand what had happened, but his mind was confused. The images around him seemed distorted, as if he were looking through a broken kaleidoscope. Amidst the confusion, Alfred heard sirens approaching. Determined voices gave orders, strong hands moved debris. Among the rescuers, a familiar voice stood out. "Here! There's someone here!" It was James, his older brother. Fate had it that he, a firefighter for years in the city, was one of the first to arrive at the accident scene. With evident care and concern in every movement, James helped to remove Alfred from the bus wreckage. "Hang in there, little brother. I'm here with you," James whispered, his voice trembling slightly at the sight of his brother, whom he hadn't seen in so long. Alfred wanted to respond, to say he was happy to see his brother, but darkness engulfed him before he could utter a word. 3 days passed, like a long dream for Alfred. When he finally opened his eyes, he found himself in a hospital room, surrounded by machines and the characteristic smell of antiseptic. He blinked a few times, trying to focus his blurred vision. As the world around him gained clarity, he realized he was not alone. His mother, Laura, a middle-aged woman with gentle eyes and grey hair, held his hand delicately. His father, Robert, a man with a firm posture but a worried look, stood by the bedside. James, still in his firefighter uniform, smiled with relief at seeing his brother awake. "Welcome back, son," said Laura, tears in her eyes. Alfred tried to speak, but his throat was dry. James quickly offered him a cup of water with a straw. After a few sips, Alfred finally managed to articulate. What happened?" "The bus had an accident, Al," James explained. "You hit your head hard. You gave us quite a scare." Alfred frowned, trying to remember. Fragments of the accident returned to his mind, but there was something else. Something that seemed important, but he couldn't quite grasp what it was. "I had a dream," murmured Alfred, more to himself than to the others. "A woman. She was beautiful." Laura and Robert exchanged worried glances while James chuckled. "It must have been a pretty nurse taking care of you," James joked, trying to lighten the mood. But Alfred knew that wasn't it. The image of the woman in his dream was too vivid, too real to be just a product of his imagination. Her eyes were a deep blue. Her golden hair fell in gentle waves over her shoulders. She smiled at him in a way that made his heart race, even now, awake. In the days that followed, Alfred was discharged from the hospital. The doctor assured him that despite the bump on the head, there were no serious sequelae. He returned to his parents' house, a cosy 2-story home in the suburbs, with a large oak tree in the front yard. The recovery routine was peaceful, but Alfred's nights were anything but calm. Every time he closed his eyes, she was there, the mysterious woman from his dreams. Sometimes they walked side by side along a sunny beach, their feet sinking into the soft sand. On other nights, he saw her dancing in an elegant ballroom, the gentle music setting the pace for her graceful movements. The setting changed, but she was always there, smiling, reaching out to him. And every time, when Alfred finally thought he could touch her, he woke up, frustrated and confused. Driven by a need he didn't fully understand, Alfred began to draw the woman from his dreams every morning. His talent as a cartoonist brought her face to life on paper, capturing every detail he could remember. The sparkle in her eyes, the gentle curve of her smile, the way a stubborn lock of hair always fell across her forehead. One morning, while Alfred was in the backyard, sitting under the old oak tree, sketching yet another portrait of her, his mother approached with a tray of freshly baked cookies. "Who is she, dear?" Laura asked, looking over Alfred's shoulder at the drawing. Alfred hesitated for a moment, aware of how his answer would sound. "She's the woman of my dreams, Mother. I don't know who she is, but I'm in love with her." Laura smiled tenderly, recalling the poetic and dreamy son Alfred had always been. She ruffled his hair as she used to do when he was a child. "Ah, my son. You've always had a fertile imagination. Maybe it's a sign that it's time to find someone special in real life." Alfred wanted to explain that this was different, that the feelings he had for this mysterious woman were more real and profound than anything he had ever felt before. But the words failed him, and he simply smiled back at his mother, accepting a cookie from the tray. A few more days passed, and Alfred's obsession with the woman of his dreams only grew. His drawings became more and more detailed, his dreams more vivid. He found himself eager to sleep, just for the chance to see her again. On a particularly cold December night, Alfred had a different dream. This time, they weren't on a beach or in a dance hall. They were in a park covered with leaves, the trees around them decorated with Christmas lights. The woman was there as always, but something was different. She wasn't smiling as usual. Her blue eyes were full of concern. "Alfred!" she called, her voice echoing in a way it never had before in his dreams. "Why don't you talk to me? I'm worried." Confused, Alfred took a step towards her. For the first time, he felt that he could really reach her. He reached out, his fingers almost touching hers. And then he woke up. Alfred's heart was racing. That dream had been so real, so tangible. He could almost feel the wind, hear the echo of her voice. Frustrated, he got out of bed and went to the window. The day was dawning, and a thin layer of dew covered the backyard. That morning, Alfred was summoned to go to the fire station. James had called him, saying that they had found his backpack among the debris of the crashed bus. With his heart heavy from the dreams of the previous night, Alfred headed to the station. The fire department building was an old red brick construction, with large gates through which the trucks would go out on their rescue missions. James welcomed him at the entrance, a warm smile on his bearded face. "Hey, bro! Come here! We found your stuff," said James, guiding Alfred to a room at the back. On a metal table was his old travel backpack. Alfred opened it carefully, as if he were unearthing a treasure. Inside, he found his cell phone, completely damaged from the impact of the accident. Next, his fingers touched something familiar, the leather cover of his inseparable sketchbook. With a mix of anxiety and anticipation, Alfred opened it. The first pages were familiar, sketches of characters he was working on, landscapes he had seen on his travels. But as he moved to the last pages, his heart nearly stopped. There, looking at him with those blue eyes that haunted his dreams, was her, the mysterious woman. But it wasn't a recent drawing made after the accident. It was an old sketch, dated weeks before. "That's not possible," murmured Alfred, feeling his legs weaken. James, noticing the change in his brother's behaviour, approached. "What's wrong, Al? Did you find something important?" Alfred couldn't respond. His mind was spinning, trying to understand what it meant. How could he have drawn this woman before the accident, if he only started dreaming about her afterwards? Continuing to rummage through the backpack, his fingers found something else, a small velvet box. With trembling hands, Alfred opened it, revealing a delicate engagement ring. The confusion on his face was evident. James, concerned, placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. "Al, are you okay? What's going on?" Alfred shook his head, unable to find words to explain the whirlwind of emotions and questions that plagued him. He put the ring and the notebook back in his backpack, thanked his brother, and left the station, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. The day passed in a blur for Alfred. He wandered the city streets observing the Christmas decorations and the hurried people making last-minute purchases for the feast, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't stop thinking about the notebook, the ring, the woman of his dreams who seemed so real and yet so impossible. When night fell, Alfred returned to his parents' house. The place was full of life, with uncles, cousins, and family friends arriving for the traditional Christmas dinner. The smell of roast turkey and apple pie filled the air, mingling with the scent of pine trees decorating the room. Alfred tried to join the festivities, forcing smiles and mechanically answering questions about his life in the big city. But his heart wasn't in it. He felt out of place, as if he were living someone else's life. As everyone gathered in the dining room, the doorbell rang. Since he was closest to the door, Alfred offered to answer it, grateful for the opportunity to escape the familiar hubbub for a moment. He opened the door, and the world stopped. There, standing on the threshold, was her. The woman of his dreams, in the flesh. Her blue eyes, exactly as he had drawn them hundreds of times, looked at him with a mixture of relief and concern. Carol. The name slipped from Alfred's lips before he could even think. In an instant, she enveloped him in a tight embrace, the warmth of her body contrasting with the cold of the night. "Alfred, I've been trying to reach you for over a week. Why weren't you answering your phone?" Her voice, so familiar yet somehow new, triggered an avalanche of memories. Like a puzzle coming together, the pieces of his life began to fit into place. Carol, his girlfriend of 2 years. The woman he met at a comic exhibition, who supported him in his career as a cartoonist, who made him believe in himself when everyone else doubted. The woman he was returning to, with an engagement ring hidden in his backpack, ready to propose on Christmas Eve. The accident, the blow to the head, the selective amnesia that had erased Carol from his conscious memories, but not from his heart. The dreams, the drawings, everything made sense now. "Carol," he repeated, his voice choked with emotion. I forgot about you, but at the same time I never stopped loving you." Confused, Carol took a step back, studying Alfred's face. "What are you talking about, Al?" At that moment, Laura appeared in the hallway, curious to see who was at the door. Her eyes widened when she saw the young stranger in her son's arms. "Alfred, who is this girl?" asked Laura, her voice a mix of surprise and curiosity. Alfred smiled, tears of happiness forming in his eyes. "Mum, this is Carol, my girlfriend, the woman of my dreams, literally." In the minutes that followed, Alfred's parents' house filled with even more emotion. Amid tears and laughter, Alfred explained the situation to his astonished family. Carol, in turn, told how worried she was when Alfred didn't respond to her messages and calls, and how she decided to make the surprise trip to his parents' house, an address he had shared before the accident. The family, initially shocked, soon embraced Carol with the warmth and love characteristic of that family. Laura, in particular, couldn't stop smiling, enchanted with the young woman who had captured her son's heart in such an extraordinary way. As everyone gathered in the room, sharing stories and laughing at the coincidences of fate, Alfred excused himself for a moment. He went upstairs to his old room, his heart pounding in his chest. He opened his backpack and took out the small velvet box he had found earlier. When he returned to the room, he found Carol sitting near the Christmas tree, the twinkling lights reflecting in her blue eyes. Alfred approached, feeling as if he were living the most perfect of dreams. "Carol," he began, kneeling before her. The murmuring in the room quieted. All eyes turned toward the couple. "I came back home intending to make peace with my past, so that I would be ready for a future with you. Fate wanted me to forget you for a while, but my heart never stopped loving you. You are the woman of my dreams, in the most literal sense possible." He opened the little box, revealing the ring. "Would you do me the honor of marrying me?" Carol's eyes filled with tears. With a radiant smile, she reached out her hand. "Yes, Alfred, yes." As Alfred placed the ring on Carol's finger, the room erupted in applause and congratulations. James patted his brother on the back, proud. The parents embraced, moved to see their youngest son finally finding his happiness. On that Christmas night, the family celebrated not only the birth of Jesus, but also the rebirth of a love that had overcome even the limits of memory. Alfred and Carol, surrounded by the warmth of family and the Christmas spirit, sealed their commitment with a kiss. And so, on that magical night, Alfred understood that the heart truly never forgets a true love. His dreams, which for so long seemed a mystery, were actually the purest proof that even when the mind fails, love finds a way. Carol was not just the woman of his dreams, she was his past, his present, and now, undoubtedly, his future. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.